Baylor get out-rebounded by Yale? How's that happen?
Are you directing that towards anyone?
Gentleman who just talked about getting out-rebounded. He had the stat sheet.
Tori?
He said, how do they
Yeah.
have more rebounds
You
than
said
us?
he got out-rebounded. I was surprised. You did. 36-32. How does Yale out-rebound Baylor?
You go up and grab the ball off the rim when it comes off, and then you grab it with two hands, and you come down with it, and that's considered a rebound. So they got more of those than we did.
What's good, everybody listening? This is the Ball Don't Lie podcast here on Penn State Sports Night. I'm Hunter Pitcoff. I guess our official co-host now, Matt Szczypiorski.
Good to be here again. You know, I like the use of the word official there. It makes me feel really official.
Yeah, I mean, 2 times in a row. I feel like now it's come a trend. But something that probably won't become a trend is Karis LeVert, who decided to be Michael Jordan yesterday. He had 51 points against the Celtics, 37 in just the fourth quarter and overtime combined. I don't know if you caught this game at all, Matt, but, oh, my God.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching the end because, unfortunately, I took the Celtics. I bet on them, and they had a 21-point lead, and I was really convinced they were going to lock it down, and then they started coming back a little bit. Obviously the Nets started slow in this one, and then LeVert absolutely caught fire in the second half. He scored 37 points in the fourth quarter in overtime, 26 points in the fourth quarter, had 3 free throws at the end. I don't know if you saw it, where Marcus Smart committed probably the dumbest foul you could commit. And with 0.2 seconds remaining, he nailed all 3, sent the game into overtime, and I'm pretty sure he scored all 11 of their points in overtime, correct?
Pretty much, yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, that was nuts. I was just it was just funny, who was on the court for the game. Chris Chiozza, who was an undrafted player out of Florida, was starting at point guard for this team.
Right. Karis LeVert absolutely carried them.
And then for the Celtics, they had I think who even finished the game for them? It was Carson Edwards was out there. What?
Wow, yeah. I know Kemba was on a minutes restriction, right?
Yeah, and then Jaylen Brown got hurt.
Right.
Gordon Hayward got hurt in that game too.
Yeah, and Tatum was already out.
Yep. So and Marcus Smart fouled out in overtime.
Right.
I was like, Jesus Christ, what's going on here? But yeah, as you mentioned, Kemba Walker, he did make his return. It was on a minutes restriction, so maybe the game would have been a little different had he had played, but nevertheless, crazy game from Karis LeVert. Maybe they don't need Kevin Durant to come back because Karis LeVert will just be the guy.
All right. Let's relax.
Yeah, all right. That was just jokes right there. But next up, Tim Duncan made his head coaching debut with Greg Popovich out, and he beat the Hornets 104-103. I guess the only comment I have to make about this is, do you think Tim Duncan will eventually be a head coach in the NBA?
I think so. I think he's there to be the guy who takes over for Pop when Pop decides to retire. He actually had a classic Pop moment post-game when his answer to a question by a reporter was, are we going to talk about the game or are we trying to do interviews for different things? Because they asked him why he got into coaching or something like that. Yeah, it was... And you could tell he was clearly frustrated by the question. But obviously, a big win for him is they had a big comeback in the second and third quarters after falling behind by 17 at the end of the first. Yeah,
a good win for the Spurs, obviously. I'm sure it's really difficult to play a game without a head coach, especially when he's a Hall of Famer. But Tim Duncan is a Hall of Famer, or eventually going to be a Hall of Famer in his own right. I think he's eligible this year. I think he's a finalist. Oh, yeah, he definitely was.
Definitely
but something, we can talk about Tim Duncan, go back to his playing career, but I don't think we can go further back than Shaq's hairline yesterday.
Oh, wow, that was a good transition.
Yeah,
I like that. That was pretty good.
Right there. But, I don't even know what to say here, but if you did not see Shaq's hairline, please look at it. He lost a bet to Dwayne Wade over the Bucks Heat game, so it wasn't like he did this intentionally, but it's quite the spectacle, to say the least.
Yeah, even LeBron and Stephen A. Smith were like, whoa, that's a bad hairline, and they have pretty bad hairlines.
Yeah.
He says he's going to keep it, and he's really feeding into the hate on social media, but it just looks ridiculous.
Just, you know what I mean? As they say in Frozen, just let it go, man. Go bald.
Yikes. Wow.
Big yikes there. Also a big yikes, potentially. The Lakers are looking to fill their last roster spot with either the Henny God himself, J.R. Smith, or Waiters Island and Deion Waiters. So I guess real talk here, if the Lakers had to sign one of them, who would you rather have?
Preferably neither, but I think J.R. Smith would probably fit in well with the team chemistry-wise. I feel like he fits their personality, I think. And he's played with LeBron obviously before. But the last time we saw him playing with LeBron was yelling at him in Game 1 of the 2017 Finals. But they do need shooting, and he can apparently still shoot, even though he hasn't played in like 2 years. If the Lakers think he's good enough for a roster spot, then by all means.
I feel like at this point, like, the Lakers, they got what they got. Like, this signing's not going to affect, like, any sort of, like, implication of, like, them winning a championship or not. So I feel like at this point, you need a good cheerleader on the bench. I think J.R. Smith is a good cheerleader.
Yeah.
Maybe he can give a minute. To be fair, he has had big moments in the playoffs before. Got to give him credit where it's due. He had the one big mess up in Game 1, as you alluded to, Matt. But he does have playoff experience, and he's hit shots, and he's always been, or at least ever since he played with LeBron, a respectable defender. So I think J.R. Smith makes more sense. Also, Deion Waiters, if the Miami Heat couldn't contain him, and he's probably still a mess right now, and the Lakers do have a good culture, I don't think you want someone coming in and ruining that. So J.R. Smith will probably just be happy to have the opportunity, you know what I mean? And I think I agree with you, Matt. I'd love to argue with this one, but no, I would have to say J.R. is probably in the move there. But a Laker a guy that the Lakers won't be signing probably is LiAngelo Ball, because he is locked up with the OKC Blue, the G League affiliate. LeVar Ball still believes that all three of his sons will be on one team one day.
God, I hope not. That would be a tragedy because LeVar Ball would just not shut the heck up.
Oh my God.
Basketball-wise, good for LiAngelo. Got on the team. That was his goal, to eventually get in the league, and he's almost there at the G League. But I think this story will eventually become an afterthought. I doubt he stays in that team past this year.
Yeah, it's also because he's gonna be on the actual Thunder next year. No, I was kidding.
Oh wow, yikes.
Hot takes everywhere. But now I will say, LiAngelo Ball, I heard he was hurt for a while. Like, he got surgery on something. Maybe it's like a knee or something. And so that's why he wasn't playing basketball for a while. So I guess good for him that he's probably going to be signing with the OKC Blue. They produced my man Alex Caruso, so they know how to get it done with that affiliation. The Caruso was born and raised in OKC Blue. But anyways, though, I guess good for him. I don't know, maybe I think LiAngelo, I think the problem, the whole thing, was that LeVar Ball wanted all three of his sons to be one-and-dones, but I feel like he was the guy
that actually needed
the couple years. Like, and that's fine. You can even look at the Holidays. They got all three of them in the NBA.
Right. And
they're all, good players in their own right. So I feel like they should have looked at that model a little bit more rather than just, throwing your kids into the fire like that. But, whatever.
Yeah, they've all had different stories. The last kid is in, a whole different country.
Yeah, Australia, LaMelo, and he'll probably be a top 5 pick this year, maybe even 1, we'll see. But anyway, next we're going to talk about the Bulls. Sort of good, sort of bad news. Mainly bad news, though. Chris Dunn out for the rest of the year after he's suffering a sprained MCL in his right knee. Apparently the Clippers are already saying that they're interested in signing him in the offseason. It's a little weird, but okay. And I guess now for you, your boy Kobe White probably gets some more tick on the floor.
We'd sure hope so. I love Kobe White here on this podcast, but the Bulls are going to Bulls. The coaching, the front office, they make no sense. They'll probably still keep on the bench for no reason. But since those 3 30-point games he had last week, he came back with a 22-point performance and a 19-point performance in back-to-back games. The Bulls are running out of reasons not to start him, and if they still don't start him, there is no hope for this organization if their front office and head coach remain intact.
Yeah, couldn't have said better myself. But maybe there's hope because Otto Porter's coming back. Already did 18 points in 17 minutes. What's good? And it's been out since November. He's next Kevin Durant, so that's good for them. And Lauri Markkanen is making the start tonight after missing over a month due to a pelvic stress reaction. So it looks like the Bulls minus Chris Dunn are locked and loaded for a playoff push.
No.
Otto Porter, I'm just kidding. But
their biggest free agent signing in years goes on to miss nearly the whole season with an injury. Go figure. I actually like Porter with the Bulls right now. It's not like they're really paying anyone else except for Zach LaVine, so he's kind of worth the money for them in a transition period. He's a good wing player. He can shoot and play decent defense, which are two of many things that the Bulls lack. And as for Markkanen, this is becoming a Bulls podcast, but the biggest thing I've seen from him this year, a lack of consistency. Throughout his season, you see games where he'll put up 20-something one night, and then he'll follow that up with an 8-point effort. I think that he, like everyone else on this team, would benefit drastically from a regime change. Maybe a new set of faces can unlock his full potential.
Yep, you know what it is. Otto Porter was taken number 3 for a reason. Anyways, though, I guess a little more injury updates, if you will. Kyrie had successful surgery to relieve his right shoulder impingement. I feel like that word impigement's just been thrown around a lot
Right.
lately. Derrick Rose apparently supposed to miss a few weeks due to an ankle injury. I know he's been kind of aggravating that throughout the whole season. And then your boy Josh Richardson is concussed. J.J. Redick out 2 weeks after suffering a hamstring strain. I'm not a doctor, but there's your injury update.
Yeah, I mean, Kyrie, he's been injured the whole year, and for Brooklyn, it's all about getting healthy for next year when KD gets back. As for D Rose, and he's hurt again. Another news: the sky is blue and grass is green. And for Josh Richardson, it's just business as usual for the Sixers. Another injury. The Sixers are now down 3 starters, playing one of their toughest stretches of the schedule this season. They already suck on the road, but they've actually been impressing me by not losing by more points to the Lakers and Clippers the last couple of days. And as for JJ being out for the Pelicans, I actually think it's pretty huge for them because he's one of the few guys that on that team that can shoot from the outside. And I think, with this playoff push that they're making down here, I think they're really going to miss him.
Yeah, no, I guess, J.J. Redick probably the biggest guy there in terms of, making an immediate impact on his team. There you have it. There's your injury update, if you will. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the Knicks and the Spike Lee controversy. Man, James Dolan just loves pissing off all the, top New York guys, right?
Yeah.
But to kind of walk you through it, in case you missed it, Spike Lee, who is, of course, probably the most famous Knicks fan there is, he was denied entry to his normal courtside seat on Monday, and Spike Lee said that he'd been going through this media entrance, the same one, for 28 years, and then no one told him he wasn't allowed to anymore. And then James Dolan, the owner of the Knicks, and Spike Lee, they're currently at odds, and Spike Lee says that he is done with the Knicks at least for the rest of the season. If I was him, I'd be done with them forever.
Well, yeah, like you said, Spike, this actually might be a good thing for you. You get to stop watching Knicks basketball.
Congratulations.
Spike, I understand where you're coming from with you've been going through the same entrance for 28 years, but at the end of the day, it's an entrance, and you're still going to the game. So this just seems like a case of rich people complaining about rich people issues. Does James Dolan suck? Yeah, absolutely. But at the end of the day, Spike, it's an entrance. Just go a different way. It's not that hard.
I will say though, he did bring up an interesting point because he was already in. He already checked in through that, and they were telling him you have to do this again. But the only thing is, I will say, and he brought up an interesting point, was that a lot of times they won't let you back in once you get in.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially in Madison Square Garden like that. So I think he was kind of well, I'm already here. Why can't we just do this next? I can see both sides of the story. But at the end of the day, I would take Spike's side because, screw James Dolan. It's
Absolutely.
not like he has a great reputation to begin with. And
Right.
last but not least, I thought this was a little interesting, but Steve Ballmer, the owner of the Clippers, a very well-liked owner, he's in, quote, advanced negotiations to buy Forum, which is where the Lakers used to play. That would be interesting.
I think it'd be very interesting. I think, wouldn't it be something if they found a way to keep the Clippers in LA without having to share an arena with the Los Angeles Lakers and in the Lakers' old home arena nonetheless? They've got to find a way to get out of sharing an arena with the Lakers if they can, especially now that they have stars and a good team. They can actually build a decent following.
Yeah, I'm sure it's really, it's hard to play when you just see all those banners up in there.
Right.
And Taylor Swift has more banners than you do.
Yikes.
Woo! Shade over here. Anyways, though, that's going to wrap up our Around the Association. Even if we had a short couple days because we had a podcast on Sunday, today it's Wednesday night, still a lot going on in the NBA. It does not sleep. So next up, as usual, Players of the Week. I got a pretty interesting list this week because, I like throwing in random names like I always do. But, Matt, you can kick things off for us here.
All right. This isn't Bleacher Report. This isn't ESPN. I'm going to talk about Zion Williamson. I hate all the constant news about him from Zion Report and ESPN, but to his credit, he is actually playing extremely well. He's earned some of that attention. He's had 12 straight games with 20 or more points. And he even outscored LeBron on Sunday night in their narrow loss to the Lakers with a
career high game, yeah.
Career high of 35. Hey, you're good, man. If he guides the Pelicans to the playoffs somehow, he is the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think because, the Patrick Ewing is the player who played the least amount of games in a season and won Rookie of the Year, and that was 50. If Zion plays in every single game from here on out, he'd play in 37.
But he's been amazing.
And then it's hard because it's also Ja Morant's also been that dude as well.
But he hasn't been that dude to score 20 or more points.
He hasn't done that,
games.
though. So it would be interesting. I feel like the Pelicans would have to make the playoffs. I feel like for Zion to even have a shot.
I agree.
Because, again, it's not like it's nobody's doing anything. Ja Morant has been also at that elite level as well. But Zion Williamson, I'd say like he's at least a top 30 NBA player right now.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Like I think that's pretty fair. I mean, the tape he's played like 15 games now. So at this point, it's like okay, like he's that dude. But next on my list, first off, I have one of the Currys, not Steph though, but Seth Curry.
Wow.
He is hit 11 threes in his last 2 games, 37 against the Heat and 27 against the Timberwolves. I don't know why I keep bringing up Mavs players, but every time I kind of look at, crunch the numbers a bit and see who's really playing well, I guess it's just a role player from the Mavericks.
Right.
And Seth Curry, tip of the hat to you because today's your week.
He's been really balling out, and typically when you think Curry family, he's probably the last person you think of. But with the stats you just brought up, he's clearly earned it.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good player for them, and he's one of the few players on the Mavericks with really any sort of playoff experience. So I think he can hit big shots for them down the road as well, potentially. So good get for Mavericks. That was a good signing. I was hoping the Lakers were going to get him in the offseason because he would have fit really well, but nope. Signs with Dallas. Next up, though, who is on your list, Matt?
De'Aaron Fox from the Sacramento Kings. During the Kings' 6-game win streak, Fox has averaged 24.5 points per game, and he has been the unquestioned leader of that team over that time. They've beaten the Clippers and the Grizzlies. They've beaten the Grizzlies twice, actually, which are 2 playoff teams.
Yeah.
What's really impressed me about Fox is how he's been shooting from the floor this season as he has increased his field goal percentage every year he's been in the league. And with the Kings just 3 games behind a slumping Grizzlies team, watch out if they keep up the pace.
Oh, actually, we have breaking news here, Matt.
Oh, my God, no way.
Steph Curry is playing tonight.
Ooh.
Yep, playing against none other than... Actually,
the Raptors.
Is the Raptors, yeah. So, former finals game. So, yeah, breaking news. I was not a Woj bomb, though. I just got a regular update about that. But, so sorry, it wasn't a Woj. I'm sure he probably was the first to report it. He probably knew this like 10 hours ago.
Right.
I bet he knew before Steph did.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's just how Woj is. But next up on my list, though, cool transition there. Shake and bake. Shake Milton. I got to give him credit where it's due. He stumbled into opportunity. And, maybe he can really carve out a role with the Sixers when they're at full strength. They need a guy who can really score, play on and off the ball. He had 19 against the Knicks, 12 against the Lakers, but it's really that 39-point eruption against the Clippers that, really showed people and even impressed Steve Jones a bit, our teacher, that Shake Milton belongs in the NBA.
Yeah, you know what, Hunter? You took my last pick there. I was worried it was going to be a little bit of a homer pick, but since you already brought him up, no man gets left behind here on this podcast.
Nope.
As we said, 39 points on Sunday against the Clippers, an unreal performance. It's also very much worth mentioning the fact that without him, the Sixers would be an embarrassment to watch right now with all the injuries and the fact that Al Horford is still getting considerable minutes. So thank you, Shake Milton, for keeping me from breaking various things in my apartment and owing my roommates a lot of money due to Brett Brown and the Sixers.
Yeah, shout out Shake Milton for keeping Matt sane. So since you already had Shake, I'll list up my last guy. That's going to be Norman Powell for the Toronto Raptors. He missed some time due to injury, but... since he came back, he had 22 against the Hornets, 24 against the Pistons, and 26 against the Suns. Also played at least 36 minutes, at least, in all 3 of those games. So I think it's safe to say that the Raptors, I know Norman Powell's not the best player, but he's still a pretty good player, and it's good that they have him back.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a role player for them the last couple of years. He played a big role in that in those playoffs last year and in the NBA Finals, obviously. I think he's really carved out a nice role over there in Toronto, and looked for him to keep it up.
Yeah, so shout out Norman Powell. You made the list. Now, next up, look, I was the first person to say this whole Rockets thing's not going to work.
I was right there with you.
I was like, there's no way this science experiment is going to boil over well. But you know what? They're 7-3 being the Rockets since Robert Covington joined the team. Westbrook has been fantastic. It's worked. He's been dominating in the paint without Clint Capella there, much more floor spacing. So I guess the first question I want to ask you, Matt, why or how has Houston been so successful with this drastic move?
I'm going to kind of cross over sports here. This team kind of reminds me of the Chip Kelly era Eagles when he first came to the league. Their schemes were so different and brushed aside as being too drastic to work in their respective leagues that it did end up working, maybe because people didn't take it too seriously. And also Westbrook has been, as you said, free to access his strength of attacking the basket and playing fast while having shooters around him. This is probably a dream for him right now.
Yeah, Westbrook's numbers have been through the roof. He's low-key been the best player on that team this season.
Right.
Ooh, but, yeah,
Westbrook...
Westbrook...
I'm with you on that. James Harden's been taking a lot of shots and missing a lot of shots.
Yeah, Westbrook's actually been the more efficient one. Can't believe I'm even saying that right now. But, yeah, Westbrook's been great. It's helped him a lot. It's also worth knowing that Rockets have been good on defense as well. Like, they're actually, like, getting
Shocking
rebounds.
again.
They're getting team rebounds. The fact that James Harden I think he won a jump ball the other day.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so shout out James Harden. Sneaky hops right there. But, yeah, why it's worked, I think, it's crazy as it sounds, that Chip Kelly thing kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's so different. You kind of figure, like, all right, this is so crazy. How can we guard this? So I guess the bigger question we have to wonder is, well, is there going to come a time where it's just like, okay, we're going to figure this out and we're just going to, like, bully you?
Much like the Chip Kelly Eagles, I think that the league will eventually catch up to them and knock them back down to earth. I think they could win a first-round series, but that's probably their ceiling, honestly. I don't see them going to the next round against a Clippers, Lakers, or Nuggets team and beating them in a 7-game series when they all have pretty good size and really good big men.
Yeah, it's true. And also, like Anthony Davis, I know the Rockets did beat the Lakers when they did play like that, but they're playing him again. But Anthony Davis can guard on the perimeter. And then, like the Clippers have size that they could switch onto smaller guys as well. Nuggets, kind of the same thing. Jokic plays on the perimeter a lot anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I wonder. I do think, the Rockets are a very good team. I will give them credit where it's due. But, yeah, until Westbrook and Harden really show me, and probably you too, that, like, they can really step up in the playoffs, I don't really have confidence in the Rockets at all.
Neither do I.
Yeah, but I guess that we kind of answered 2 and 1 there. Next question was how far we think this team can go in the playoffs. You and me both agree. 1 series is probably fair. But I guess a bigger question is, can this small ball team eventually have what it takes to win a championship?
No.
No.
They will not be able to compete with the teams that have big guys as their star players, like the Lakers and Nuggets do in the West, and the Bucks do in the East with Giannis, and even the Sixers do with Joel Embiid at the center position there. They're a fun team to watch, don't get me wrong, but they're not winning a championship like this.
You know who would be a great fit with this team? It'll never happen, but a big man that'd be a great fit.
Don't say Embiid.
No, not Embiid.
Okay.
No, not Embiid.
I would have cried right here.
Yeah. Yes, he would unfortunately have to guard on the perimeter. But guy who doesn't play defense because his team barely does anyway. Well, at least like down low. Karl-Anthony Towns. Because Karl-Anthony Towns loves shooting threes.
He does.
I feel like that'd be a good fit for them.
Yeah, maybe. But, I mean, after the trade they just got with D'Angelo Russell just to make him happy, I feel like he's not going anywhere.
No, he's not. I just thought, you know what? That'd be pretty interesting, though, if Karl-Anthony Towns was on that team. I think then you could start talking championships. I mean, if Karl-Anthony Towns your third best player, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like we said, Daryl Morey would make a move like that, but the odds that the Timberwolves do, probably slim
Doubtful.
to none. Yeah, especially since they got D'Lo. But, I don't know, just some food for thought right there. But next team we're going to talk about here is the Sacramento Kings. They have won 10 out of their last 13 games. Yes, they suffered many injuries during the season, especially key ones like De'Aaron Fox, Marvin Bagley, and things like that. But it seems like they're starting to hit a groove. Like you said, Matt, De'Aaron Fox has been playing really well. So do you like their odds of making the playoffs this year?
As of right now, yes, but they have to stay hot once this winning streak inevitably ends. If they just go right back to being mediocre how they were before, then they aren't going to catch the Grizzlies. Also, I think that the injuries, as you alluded to, will eventually start to take their toll on this team. If at the very least, the fact that some of their guys are playing hurt is probably not the best way to keep expecting to win ball games in a playoff race where they do need to make up some ground. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I guess, I'm going to say they don't make the playoffs this year. That's going to be my guess. I just think, like, the Grizzlies are already ahead of them. And then I look at a team like the Pelicans who are also ahead, but, like, right there. I just think that they're honestly just better teams.
Right.
But I like that De'Aaron Fox is getting back to a groove, because he had a great sophomore year last year. He really broke out. I think he was a most improved player candidate.
Mm-hmm.
I know he didn't win, but he was a candidate to win the award. And then Buddy Hield's also been playing, kind of like with a chip on his shoulder a little bit this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's been, a little pissed off with the
Ever
Kings.
since they moved him to the bench.
Yep, pissed off with the Kings organization. That's going to be interesting to find out because Bogdan's a free agent, Bogdanovich,
Mm-hmm.
and then Buddy Hield says, I don't think he wants to come off the bench. So I heard he may request a trade if they don't decide to move his role, entering next season. So then the Kings are really going to be in a pickle, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if I was anybody in Sacramento, I'd probably want to get out of there.
Yeah, they haven't made the playoffs since 2006.
Yeah.
So a while ago. Now, like we said, this is a young team, a lot of talented players. But do you think this current collection of youth, do you think they have what it takes to like really get over the hump and become an elite team someday?
Personally, I don't think so. I think Fox is the only player on this team with legitimate superstar potential, and even he has some flaws in his game, such as three-point shooting. Furthermore, this front office has been toxic for years now. Everybody knows that. Sacramento has traditionally been a place where careers go to die in the NBA. Could they eventually make the playoffs for the first time since 2006? Sure, maybe. Title contenders, they would need a lot of help to get there, and Sacramento isn't exactly known for getting a big free agent or making a splashy trade.
No, they are not. Usually they make splashy trades and it goes for the worst.
Right.
But yeah, I will say with the Kings, it is interesting because I just don't think they have like if you look at like the Pelicans, for example, they have Zion. They have like a guy who you're like, this could be a franchise player, and then they have other good young players. And I mean, they have Ingram too. You can argue with him also. Or the Grizzlies, it's like they got John Morant, but then they also have Jaren Jackson and Dylan Brooks. Like they have the guy, and then they have other good young players.
Right.
I think that's like an issue even like the Bulls have right now, where it's like, I know we love talking about the Bulls, but they don't have like that one guy on the team. Or like the Hawks, they have Trae Young, where it's like, all right, we have a superstar
to build around.
But I don't think the Kings currently have that. I like De'Aaron Fox a ton, but I don't think he's
Trae Young.
I don't think he'll ever be like an all NBA guy. Maybe an all-star one day, but I don't think he'll be an all NBA guy. Same with Buddy Hield. Marvin Bagley's had a rough year, but I think he has a lot of talent, but I still don't think he'll be like that guy either. So it is a little weird for the Kings. Their ceiling, I don't know. I feel like they'd have to get really lucky. And
I think their ceiling's probably like in 7 or 8 seed in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think when it's all said and done and their players live up to full potential. That is if they still remain in Sacramento. They could ask out. I wouldn't blame them.
Right.
It is not.
I'd want to get the heck out of there.
Not fun to play in Sacramento. Probably the 4th best team to play for in California.
And that's even with the Warriors who have like 12 wins.
Yeah, I'd rather play. At least they have Steve Kerr and Bob Myers there who have won championships.
Right.
But now we're going to talk about the Portland Trailblazers, who have had a really disappointing season, maybe one of the most disappointing teams in the league this season. They've obviously last year had a great run, went to the Western Conference Finals. And they're on the verge for missing the playoffs this year. They have not missed since Damian Lillard's rookie year, which was in 2012, 2013. And yes, this is a very different team from last season, but I want to know, Matt, how should the Blazers approach this offseason?
They need to be aggressive in finding a power forward who can shoot the ball and play somewhat decent defense.
Not Melo.
In other words, not Carmelo Anthony. I think a guy like Kevin Love would be the perfect fit for this team for so many reasons. He's from the area. He fits a need, like to the mold of what they need. And he has proven that he is good when playing with other stars. So he'd be good with Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. I think he'd be the perfect fit for them.
He also expressed interest in wanting to go back to Oregon, too, in Portland. So and obviously he doesn't want to be in Cleveland anymore. But I will say, I'll put you on the spot here a little bit. What would it take for the Blazers to get Love, like in a trade?
I think his stock's probably going down because he is getting older. He's getting hurt a lot. And just the fact that he doesn't want to be there and he's expressed so much that he does not want to be there, I think that's probably going to impact his trade stock, probably make it go down. They probably won't have to give up McCollum or anything like that.
No, yeah, definitely. I think Dame and CJ would, not be in the deal at all. Otherwise, why would you even make that trade to begin with? But, yeah, it's kind of interesting what they would do potentially. I wonder if they put in, like, Zach Collins or, like...
Maybe. Even
Anthony Simons.
Yeah, it'd probably have to be a young guy with some good potential, probably Zach Collins and a couple picks.
They may need a third party in there to kind of facilitate things.
Which is common in the NBA.
Which is very common in the NBA, like you just said, Matt, but... Yeah, it'd be interesting because they've expressed interest in Love before. Again, makes a lot of sense in terms of how the Blazers run their offense, if you will. It would help a ton with floor spacing, rebounding. A champion, you got to give him credit where it's due, is a multi-time All-Star, multi-All-NBA player, and he's won championships before. And if the Blazers are serious about winning, you got to bring winners in. I agree. You got to be – last year or, entering last season – the Blazers were so much more aggressive in free agency. They got, they made a trade for Rodney Hood. They signed Seth Curry. They had Al-Farouq Aminu, Mo Harkless. They had all these guys.
Which were big guys that could shoot.
Yeah, and then even they brought in a guy like Enes Kanter like midway through the year as well on a buyout deal who actually played really well for them in the playoffs. But this year, this ain't it. Like, they
Right.
lost a lot of their bench last year, and I think they kind of just thought they were going to recover, but they didn't, because I think their bench was a lot better than people thought.
Depth is really important in
Yeah.
this league, and especially when, even when Damian Lillard goes out, they've been on the struggle bus trying to figure out what the heck to do.
Whew. Yeah, even when CJ's on the floor, too, it's like, oh, my God. But I think this last year, I just think, and I said this entering the season, I'm like, the Blazers just had a better team last year.
Yeah.
They had a better group of guys. And I think, this is kind of an off season. Again, maybe if everybody was healthy this year, I mean, Nurkic is still out. Zach Collins has been out for the whole year. Rodney Hood is out for the year. Like, all their top guys are done to the point that they had to sign Melo, who's been good for them this year, but,
Yeah, but he's still
better
a
than
turnstile on
expected.
defense.
But yeah, like, he's been better than I think people expected, but still, again, it's not like Melo. You're not signing, like, 06 Melo. Like, you're signing 2020 Melo. So it was a good move for them, but not something that's going to, really boost things back into play. But I guess better question is, do you trust the Blazers to make these moves and get back toward the top of the Western Conference next year?
Honestly, not with the West being so top-heavy and with so many teams that are in their prime for competing. I think they can be one of those teams that makes the playoffs as a bottom seed, like a 6 or 7. But I think that they honestly reached their full potential last season when they had the perfect roster around them. And I think in the next few years they'll eventually blow it up, but not in the near future.
Not in the near future. I was actually about to just say, like, if you're the Blazers, when do you start thinking about, trading Dame or CJ? I'm assuming CJ is probably the first to go because
Right.
you wouldn't trade your best guy. But I guess, it'd be interesting. Like, what would you? I don't know. I'm really speculating here, but like in theory, if CJ McCollum was available, who do you think would try getting him?
Sixers.
Sixers.
Please, Sixers.
Who would they give up to get him?
Al Horford.
Okay, here's the problem though. The Trailblazers would have to say yes to that.
Yeah. We can convince them that Al Horford's still good.
Yeah, Al Horford is Jesus.
Yeah. Did
Yeah.
you see he got stripped yesterday by Avery Bradley?
Oh yeah, of course I was watching the game.
Yeah, it's 6'9" guy getting stripped by a point guard. Awesome.
That was, man, he got manhandled on that. Like, Avery Bradley ripped it.
And our top 3 players are out, and he had 8 points. 8 points. He's the only guy on the damn floor, and he's got 8 points.
Man, hearing Sixer fans talk about Al Horford, I can listen to this all day. That should have been how we led the show off with. So, Matt, Al Horford. And
Yeah.
just not
Just
even
let
a
me
question.
go for 15 minutes.
Just be like, well, let me tell you. Anyway, next up, we're going to talk about the All-NBA IQ team. So we're going to be talking about smart players, not ones that make stupid decisions. You can argue with Al Horford. So, Matt, as I am looking for my phone, I do not know where it is under me, because that's where I keep my list, because we do not tell each other who we have on our list. That's the whole fun of it, of course. I want to know who made the All-NBA IQ team for you.
This one's probably really obvious, and you probably have him on yours too, but LeBron James.
Yeah, that's the first on my list, yeah.
The way he sees the game and can absolutely take over while playing multiple positions is a once-in-a-generation type talent, and at least some of that comes from his innate basketball knowledge. There have been multiple instances, even this season, where he's been interviewed about a specific play from a game and been able to recite everything about the play in perfect basketball terms correctly to a reporter well after the game has been played.
Yeah, LeBron, he's also one of those guys that he's played so much basketball that he almost knows like when a play's happening.
Yeah, he knows what's going to happen before it happens.
Yep, which is pretty insane. And obviously the vision's there. He does a great job, especially this year, because he's pretty much played point guard between balancing scoring and assists and managing all the egos. And not the Lakers are super ego-driven, but managing all those guys, it's definitely not easy. And I think he does a pretty good job with it. So, yeah, LeBron was at the top of my list as well. So who else made your list?
Chris Paul.
Also on my list.
I've heard from multiple people that he is probably the smartest guy in the league. He has a rare ability to learn throughout an NBA game, and towards the end of that game, figure out exactly what is needed for his team to emerge victorious. Because of this, he can appear to play kind of like a possum role occasionally and turn on the Jets in crunch time. We've seen it in multiple situations in New Orleans, Oklahoma City this year when he was with the Clippers, and he boasts the greatest situational awareness of anyone in the league.
Yeah, Chris Paul, he's more than just a State Farm actor. He's also a very smart NBA player as well. I remember my friend's dad always complains. He's like, why does Chris Paul get all these commercials, win a championship? Yeah. I'm like, that's fair. Can't really argue that. But yeah, Chris Paul's a super smart player. Also made my list as well. Again, I couldn't really leave him off because He's also a very good leader as well. I don't know if that's necessarily you being smart, but he makes the right decisions on the court. One of the greatest passers of all time. And
I could definitely see him being a head coach when he's all said and done.
Yeah, Chris Paul. Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that one for sure. So I guess who's number 3 on the list? See if we go 3 for 3 here.
I have Kawhi Leonard. I
don't have him, but yeah, he's.
I have
smart.
never seen this guy take a bad shot. He
That's
always
true.
knows where to be defensively and almost never commits a foul. His awareness on the basketball court is absolutely uncanny. It's unrivaled. He's obviously got the nickname the Claw because of how well he plays defensively. But he's just such a smart guy on the court and off the court where he just doesn't say anything.
Yeah, he doesn't say anything, and that keeps him out of trouble. But more NBA players should try it, I guess. But
Right.
Kawhi Leonard, that's a great pick. Comes from the Spurs, of course, who that's like the ultimate IQ team, if you will. And Kawhi Leonard, I love it. He does take great shots. There's never a shot where I'm like, what? Like, what was that? And he's so smart. He plays like within himself too, and
He's so efficient.
yeah, that I didn't have him on my list, but that's a pretty good pick. I'm not gonna lie. Shout out Kawhi Leonard. Next on my list, though, I don't know if you have him, but I have Nikola Jokic.
Yep, I got him.
You do? Okay. Yeah, I just at 7 foot, he makes some stupid plays sometimes, but I like it. I like players that kind of like try to go a little flashy with it sometimes, get a little jiggy with it. But Nikola Jokic, to be able to pass at that size the way he does is uncanny. I've almost never seen it, so I had to put him on.
Yeah, like you said, he's kind of like Chris Paul, like where he can make any pass that he wants and dominate with the basketball in his hand. We've seen him run an offense on multiple occasions. For a guy that's 7 foot, as we've said, that's extremely rare.
Yeah, so I had to put him on. My honorable mention at center was Marcus Gasol. He's pretty good as well. But I put Jokic in there because I don't know. He's a little better than Marcus Gasol, I'd say.
Yeah, probably.
So we shared 3 of the same players. But who else made your list?
All right, so this is the last guy that I have, and I bet you probably don't have him. Rajon Rondo.
I have Rajon Rondo. Yep.
Dang it. I think
I'm a Laker fan. Come on.
Yeah, I think this may be kind of a surprise to some of those listening, but he truly does have a great basketball IQ. Anybody that can pass the way he does and just know where guys are on the court, even if he can't see them, is impeccable. He's made so many no-look passes that it's like unbelievable. And in playoff time, like we make the joke about playoff Rondo all the time, but it's not a joke. The guy takes the game so seriously in the playoffs. I wish he would do that all the time.
He's a film rat. That's kind of what he is. Like, he's always watching film. All the guys I just mentioned, always watching film and always just driving to get better. And even, like, when Rondo was on the Celtics, in their glory days, like, Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce and stuff were like, because they were a lot older than he was. He was just still a young player at that time. And they were like, wow, like, this guy is so smart. Like, he just understands the game so well and angles and everything like that. So, I also had to put Rondo on my list. But we didn't share one player. So the next guy on my list, some people, may call him outspoken. Some people may call him, cocky, arrogant. But he's a really smart player, and that's Draymond Green.
I almost had him on my list.
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't, so we could differ on something.
So we can differ on something. Draymond Green, he just defensively, he's always in the right spot.
And it's not even just him, too. He knows where everybody else has to be, too.
That's exactly it. He's always been the leader of that team. Steph, too. But Draymond Green, he just knows he knows where people want the ball. He knows everybody's tendencies. And, he's a really smart guy in general. Again, people can be like, the technicals and stuff like that. Like, you can't be a smart player and get technicals. But sometimes some of them are calculated. He kind of knows when to pick his spots sometimes. Sometimes he gets a little out of control. But sometimes, he knows when to get technical. He does know when to and when not to cross the line. So you got to give him credit where it's due. And I think the fact that he complains so much to the refs probably helps him because they'll be a little more lenient when it comes to him complaining.
Right. He just complains so much, eventually you got to tune it out. But I do agree with you. I do agree with you that he's one of the unquestioned leaders of that team, especially with Steph out. He's really helping out those young guys. The wins don't show it, but it's about making them all better players, and he's certainly, at least had a little bit to do with that. And, he's like kind of like that Marcus Smart role for them where he's got like he is their heart and heartbeat right now, and he has been for years, and he's their emotional leader, and all of that comes from just being incredibly smart. And, he played for Tom Izzo at Michigan State, so
Yep.
he's a smart guy.
Yeah, it's Draymond Green definitely deserved to make the list. Kawhi Leonard was also a good pick too. A little out left field, he went completely over my head, but yeah, Kawhi Leonard is certainly a really smart player. But that's gonna wrap it up. I know it was a little bit of a shorter podcast, but you know what? Me and Matt decided it was like last night, today that we were gonna do the podcast because neither of us could do it tomorrow or the rest of the week, and we would be silly to shy you away from that NBA content like we always do. So, yeah, that's going to wrap it up here. Of course, no podcast next week because we will not be here due to spring break. But thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you in a few weeks.
Thanks for watching, for listening.
Thank you for watching our latest edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also follow us on Twitter at PSSNTV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.